Hello guys, this is Krishna Atya, and in last session we studied about dialog box in JavaScript. We studied three types of dialog box, that are alert, confirm and prompt. Now what to do in this session? In this session we have two tasks to do. The first one is access the value of HTML using JavaScript, and the second one is create dynamic HTML using JavaScript. Now what do you mean by these two things? Access the value of HTML using JavaScript means we use many HTML elements like text box, button, or we can say the text area that we generally use to type the address. So to access their values we will use the JavaScript. And then our another task is create dynamic HTML using JavaScript. Means we will create dynamic HTML elements using JavaScript. Like when you click on a button, the HTML element should be created there. This task we will perform in this session. So now which type of syntax there are needed to do? So first of all, to access the value of HTML, document.getElement by ID, and in the bracket we have to give the ID of the elements whose value we want to access, and then create dynamic element. So for that, document.createElement and e_name means element name, means which element we want to create using JavaScript. So now let's start our code. So here we will perform our first task. Our first task was to access the value of the HTML using JavaScript. Now what we will do in our code? We will create a paragraph using p tag, and we will create a input box using HTML input type equal to text, and a button. When the button will be clicked, the value which will be entered in the text box will be displayed into the paragraph tag. So now for that, let's start our code. So first of all, we will create a HTML file. I will save it as access_value .html. Let's give the title as access value. Now as we know that we will take the paragraph, so for that p tag will be used, and let's give the ID over here. Let's give the ID as para, and let's type some text over here so that the paragraph tag will be visible in the output. This is paragraph. Okay. So this is our text for the paragraph. Now another thing we want is the text box. So for that, input tag will be used, and the type will be text, and over here let's give the ID. The ID will be let's say uname. And then at last we need a button over here. So when the button click me will be called, at that time the chng function will be called. What is chng function? Chng function means it's a JavaScript function that we will create, and it will use the value of the input type and will assign it to the paragraph. So to create the JavaScript function, we need the script tags, and then the function will be created using the function keyword, and then the name of the function, that is chng. Now as we see in our presentation, that to access the value we need to write document.getElement by ID. So first of all, let's do that. Document.getElement by ID. Over here we will give the ID of the paragraph. .innerHTML is equal to document.getElement by ID, and then the ID of our text box. So now what these two lines will do? First of all, document.getElement by ID and the ID is para means the paragraph tag is selected. Dot inner HTML means the value of it will be accessed means the inner HTML means this is paragraph and we have to change the text from this is paragraph to the value or the text which is entered by the user into the text box. So for that inner HTML is used and is equal to document.getElement by ID uname.value means the uname means it's the text box that we have created over here and its value will be assigned to the element whose ID is para, that is para, that is our p tag. So now let's see that is runs or not. So now let's open the file over here. Let's type the name over here as admin. So when I will click on the button, the text from this is paragraph will change to admin. So it says change to admin. So these functions work properly. So now let's perform our second task. Our second task is to create a dynamic HTML element. Means when the button will be clicked, we have to create an element. So for that, let's create a new file. And let's give the name as createElement.html. So now what we will do in this file, we will create a button and when the button will be clicked, at that time we have to generate a text box. Means when the button will be clicked, a text box will be created over here. So first of all, let's give the title as create element. Now let's create a button over here. And when the button will be clicked, we have to call the JavaScript function. So onClick attribute will be used over here and then the name of the function. And let's give the name as CRT. Now our next task is to create the JavaScript function. So for that the script tag will be used. And to create the function keyword will be used. And then the name of the function, that is CRT. Now what we have to do? We have to create an element. So for that we will use document.create element. And in this, in single inverted commas, we have to give the value that what we want to create. We want to create a text box over here. So we will give as input. Now the text box is created. Now what is our next task? Our next task is to append that, means to append that element into the page, into the output page. So for that, so by using document.body.append_child, the text box which we have created will be append. But we have to give the variable over here, because when the input text will be created, at that time we have to append that. So for that variable is used. So now by this way the element is created using the JavaScript, and by this way you can append that element. So now let's check that this works or not. So whenever I will click on the button, at that time the text box should appear over here. So text box is appeared over here and I can write anything over here. So by this way you can create a dynamic element using JavaScript. Thank you for watching my video. If you like it, then please subscribe my channel.